Welcome, everyone. I think what I'll do is just provide a brief overview of hackajob to get us started. I'll flip over to the people that are actually going to be doing the do today and sharing the wonders and delights of the latest release with you for introductions from them. And then we're going to go on a bit of a journey through hackajob's history, into some shout outs to some people that have given us some guidance along the way, and then dive into a live platform demo that is going to be live streamed across multiple channels. What could possibly go wrong? But yeah, bravery on our part for that. For those of you who aren't familiar with hackajob, hackajob is the world's largest private marketplace for tech professionals, and our goal is to create a far more relevant and engaging experience for both candidates and customers. So that's for those of you who don't know who we are, and we'll find out more about that today. I'm going to flip over now to Frankie. Why don't you give us an introduction?
Hi, yes, I'm Frankie. I am a product marketing manager at hackajob. I have worn many, many hats over the years after being here for about 8, I think it is. But yeah, ultimately, my role is, well, one, to kind of ensure that our customers are kind of getting best use and value out of our product. So that's listening to them, listening to their challenges, communicating that, and working kind of quite closely with our product squad, and then also communicating all of the benefits and the success stories with the world as well, which I'm excited to do today.
We're in the perfect place for you today, Frankie. Chris, over to you.
Yeah, I'm a senior data scientist here at hackajob, and I work in the product team, which is building the platform here that we're going to be showing today. Been working a lot on the matching side, so linking up the companies to candidates, and a lot of the work we've been doing on the new features we've been showing today. So I'm really excited to be able to talk about them with you guys.
Magic. And really, what we're going to be diving into today is looking at things in a different way when we're thinking about sourcing, finding, and matching candidates. So, in the first instance, when you're looking for high demand, low supply candidates, it can be really challenging to actually find those individuals, find the connected skills, find the context of their experience. And we're going to be talking about how you can do that leveraging hackajob intelligence and how we've now leveled that up one more tier to enable you to discover more candidates. Then one of the biggest challenges, and this is something which has been going for at least 2.5 years now, but is really coming to the forefront when we think about operational pressure for recruitment teams, is engulfing huge volumes of candidate applications due to one-click apply, due to generated CVs, that's creating this really pronounced pressure at the top of the funnel for organizations that want to be able to speak to candidates and respond in a timely manner to applications, but realizing that the relevancy rate is consistently decreasing. So what we're aiming to do is create a better experience for both candidates and customers to have a far more relevant experience that draws on much more of their experience than just keyword matching. And for many kind of publishers, keyword matching is a pretty static experience so far today. So that's some of the pieces which we're going to be touching. As we've shown this to a few people in the industry along the way, Lou Adler, special shout out to you. We're going to be coming to your achiever pattern when we're thinking about performance-based hiring at the back end of the show here today. And actually, that's a lot of the nuance which is often missing from recruiters and using sourcing platforms. It's going to be quite a static experience. It's going to be focused on, particular keyword matching. And then even when you add in the context, which we did in the original version, it still lacks that ability to then go to that next level and think about what are the patterns in people's behavior? What are the patterns in people's employment? And what some of that nuance which each recruiter holds in their own head and in their own mind when they're thinking about what's a good fit for the company as a whole. So, Lou, thank you, buddy. Thank you. So we'll definitely be coming to that at the end. And there's going to be a couple more shout outs for some work that you are doing, which people can get involved and join with. So very brief history lesson. And for those of you who saw my post about this, I said I'd be holding the mic and then passing it over. Fear not, I'm not going to speak for the whole part, but I think it's important to think about why hackajob started in the first place and what the original goal of the platform was. When we roll all the way back, actually one of the big challenges was all around post and pray. It was duration-based posts that you would put online when recruitment became digital, and you would be gaming to try and get as many applications as you could. Since that point, we've been driving as many applications as possible, but it's been at the control of the candidates to see jobs, decide where to apply, and then you're deeming whether they're relevant or not based on their CV at the back end of it. When hackajob was first created, it was around capturing a lot of core requirements up front from candidates, capturing the core requirements from employers, and then bridging those two gaps and bringing them together. So very much kind of preference-based and keyword-based matching that meant a far more relevant experience. And at the time, we were 8, 9, 10 times more relevant and efficient than existing channels, be that external sourcing through long match lists that weren't relevant, or be that versus applications. We then went one level further, which was kind of the next step, which we launched at RecFest last year, and our customers have been getting involved with, which is contextual-based matching. And now we're going one layer beyond that. So that's the journey. Very brief overview. I'm going to kick it over now, as I promised that I would. And I really want to kind of touch on, kind of the experts in the room and get their kind of opinions and thoughts of what we've been hearing from customers, what we've been learning, how we've kind of iterated to get to this point. So Frankie, I'm going to throw it over to you first.
Yeah, I think you covered a lot there, to be honest. But yeah, I think like the biggest shift from last year when we released Hackajob Intelligence was using the knowledge graph to kind of understand the relationships between skills and experience, just as you said. So say you're looking for cloud experience, the platform's then going to highlight all of the candidates with AWS, GCP, Azure, etc., explaining, why what each of those technologies are, why they match. And so the biggest kind of shift that we saw was also the kind of mindset of recruiters. So going from that kind of keyword searching, boolean strings, something that's really kind of ingrained in recruiters' souls. And I know that from having been one in the past as well. And so one of the most kind of exciting things about releasing that first version was actually then seeing how people were using the platform, like how they were using those AI summaries and explanations to kind of review profiles a lot faster. And also like finding candidates that they might have missed previously as well due to kind of not matching on a specific keyword. So after watching and listening and taking lots of user feedback over kind of a 6-month period, we realized that although this was so much more flexible, it was still very skills based. And yes, you don't need to put together a stupidly long, Boolean string, but there was still some like limitation in what the knowledge graph could surface. And actually, sometimes you just want to be really specific about one thing that is important for the role. So our kind of key takeaways were one size just doesn't fit all. Every company's got different needs, hugely different requirements as well. And really what you need and what you want is flexibility. You want to see candidates that match exactly what you're searching for, whether that's super broad or whether that's like a really refined match list. And that's what I think we have achieved with this new version of Source and some of the updates we're going to go through today. Yeah. That's what I would say.
Wonderful. And this is it. And it's always an iterative approach. We're always going to go back, listening to customer feedback, understanding how they're using the platform and thinking about how we can adapt and change. And I think one of the other parts is, this isn't a tool that's suddenly been built and we're just starting this journey. This is built on 10 years of experience. And we've got some kind of core principles that guide us. And I think, Chris, maybe flip to you to think about, what are some of those principles that guide our decision making when we're thinking about these iterations?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've been talking a lot about this year is sort of meeting the users where they are. So for that means sort of removing the friction between someone in talent acquisition got a role, reducing the friction as much as possible so they can get the candidates they're looking for. And so if we think about where the product was a couple of years ago, it was like incredibly static. We had like a sort of pretty slowly changing set of like skills that people could add to roles and candidates could add. You have to make sure that what you're adding matches up with how candidates are adding it. Very static. We made some changes to make that more flexible. So we mentioned the use of the knowledge graph where we kind of know how things are related. But even then, it was probably a lot more static still than people wanted. What we've been able to do really in the last 12 months as we've been building this out is really kind of go fully dynamic and remove so much of the friction involved with setting up a job. So that means that, when you come onto our site, you can paste in a job description, type in a search query, you can speak, you can just say out loud what you want. This is something that we're going to be showing later. The requirements that come up in the job are fully dynamic, and it's not sort of mapping onto our system and our interpretation. It's like what you say is broken down, and you can see it for each candidate. Do they meet X, Y, Z or not? There's a fully contextual explanation. And so what that means is that it makes it so much easier for someone to go from I'm looking for someone to fill this role, to getting on the system, and they've got all the information they need. It tells you why someone matches, even if you're not fully aware of all of the nuances in the space that you're looking for. This will tell you why they're a good fit. And I think actually, we've been really keen to sort of take advantage of all the advances in AI, but in a way that's well integrated and actually beneficial to users. And I think that's the place we've got to now.
Yeah, there's no novelties, and I think that's really the beauty here. And let's actually stop talking theory and let's go practical. High risk maneuver, some may say, as we delve into a live stream of a live demo across multi channels. But yeah, let's get into the actual platform for the folks that are listening. And I love the kind of background and depth there. And Nelson is with you, Chris, on his vibe coding, but vibe recruiting as well. We'll definitely do a bit of an example on that today. Thanks, Nelson, for chiming in. Frankie, the floor is yours.
Is it time? This is
It
the
is
first
time.
time I think we've ever live demoed hackajob.
Especially on a live stream, multi-channel as well.
So yeah, wish us luck, everyone. Hang on, I just want to make sure I'm sharing the correct. Sam, can you confirm I am sharing the correct screen? We can see hackajob. We can see some tabs. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's great.
It looks great, doesn't it? We love it. So we've mentioned this a couple of times, but yeah, hackajob now really is all about natural language based searching, matching, and it all starts with, as Chris said, creating that initial prompt. And I'm sure a prompt is a concept that many people are familiar with now. It's a question, it's an instruction, it's a piece of text. It's something you give to AI to get a response. And obviously in hackerjob's case, that is in order to see relevant candidates. So you can generate a prompt in a number of different ways on hackerjob, depending on what suits you best. So again, adding to that giving you that opportunity to be flexible and in whatever way suits you and however, niche or kind of refined you want to be. So what I'm going to do is kind of start with showing you how different prompts can and different requirements can be captured in different ways, and then how the platform then matches against them. So for the context of this demo, I work for Nova Nexus, very big, well-known payments company. And so one way in which you can create a job on hackerjob is you can generate a search prompt by copying and pasting a job description. So if I use job description here, you'll see that, second to go, this will generate a search prompt for me. So right now we've got senior software engineer in London with experience in Java, Kotlin, JVM. We've got a bunch of technologies that mentioned here. We've got fintech industry experience preferred. So that seems pretty good. And then another way in which we've been seeing people, especially more recently, use this feature is actually by copying and pasting a call transcript. And this is directly from a briefing with a hiring manager. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but taking a brief from a hiring manager and then copying and pasting this directly into the platform itself to generate a prompt. So you'll see how this generates a slightly different prompt and how the platform captures those requirements. So you'll see here, we've got the Java and Kotlin specifically mentioned. We've got the payments platform specifically mentioned, must have a computer science degree, which Alex was very specific about. Payments platform experience and computer science degree from a top university. Now, what we see the users do a lot, and actually this was something that was live in the very first version of Hackajob Intelligence when we launched it, was writing a prompt in natural language. And this goes back to kind of where we saw people still kind of in that boolean mindset, and actually you kind of almost write a prompt in, and I'm going to copy and paste this for now, just because I hate typing live and it could all go wrong. But you still kind of write in like a note format. It's not super conversational, but we really recommend that you are sharing your requirements just like you would to a colleague. So we are being a bit more specific here. We're saying we want 5 years experience with JVM programming languages. They must have a degree from a top university. We're mentioning a couple of other technologies. We've also got the salary in here, which we didn't pick up in the other prompts as well. Now I'm going to take this one step further. And this is the first time we have ever done this live or as part of any demo, I think. And this is a feature we've just recently launched, and we're already seeing some great success with, because it genuinely is like you are talking to a colleague. So Just explain what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for a senior software engineer with 5 years JVM programming experience, ideally with strong exposure to low latency, high concurrency systems. They must have a computer science degree from a top tier global university and hands on experience in payment platforms. It's a bonus if they're familiar with Kubernetes, as well as Java, Spring, or Kotlin. They should have experience owning the full lifecycle in production environments. React and TypeScript is also a plus. It's a hybrid setup, 2 days per week in our London office, paying 60 to 90K. And that's probably how I would explain it to a colleague. So you can see here the detail is so much more. You just get the opportunity to review that, and then we get to go and see candidates. For some reason, every time I say Kubernetes, it loves to say Kuben. But I think I'm happy with that, and we can click and get to the exciting part. What you'll see in just a second is how the platform is then kind of inferring what I've asked for, capturing my top requirements, and then how we're highlighting that on candidates' profiles as well. So Sam's kind of mentioned this, but obviously a bit of background into hackajob. Obviously, candidates sign up to hackajob. They share their preferences in terms of location, salary, job preferences, types of roles that they're interested in, a bunch of other kind of stuff. And then their profile goes live. So what hackajob is doing right now, what the platform's doing right now, is searching for the 1,000 live candidates on hackajob, looking at their profiles, understanding where they've got the experience or the type of things that I'm looking for, and then creating a refined match list for me. So you'll see, if I just zoom in over here, the platform has captured what I'm looking for as kind of key requirements here. So we've got holds a computer science degree from a top university, mentions hands-on experience with payment platforms, owning the full life cycle of software development and production environments. These are all things that I said that I was looking for. And then we demonstrate that experience on candidates' profiles. So you can see here, we're explaining where they've met those requirements. And I'm able to kind of be pretty confident whether candidates are a good fit before I've even clicked into their profile or kind of reviewed any more information there. And then just as an example of how the difference is, if I click into the job description example, here's one I made earlier, you can see that this is there's a lot kind of fewer requirements here, and there's a lot more matches as well. But again, we are showing you where and how they meet those requirements. And it's the same for the call transcript, where actually we captured everything all as must-haves. So that brought an even more refined match list because we're saying everything is must-have. But actually, there were a few things that I was more lenient on, such as the low latency systems and the kind of more kind of tech skills focused technologies as well. Now, if I click into a candidate's profile, you'll see here, we've obviously got the candidate's preferences. This is everything they say that they're looking for and how they're matching with the role based on my other kind of requirements that I asked for in the first place. And that's actually one of the key reasons why candidates come to hackajob as well, is they're getting matched based on those preferences. And then we start to see how their experience is demonstrated throughout their profile as well. And that explainability is kind of the heart of what makes it so much easier to review profiles and understand whether that candidate's going to be a good fit for the role. Now, I'm looking here and thinking, okay, that actually isn't a top university. Maybe I need to be a bit more specific about that. So what have I got here? Holds a degree in a computer science degree from a top or globally recognized university. Actually, what I can do, and these are completely free text, so I can write whatever I want, or I can say whatever I want as well. So if we go back to that transcript, actually what Alex wanted was this. So let's ask for that. I want to see candidates with a computer science degree from a leading university like Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, or global equivalents like MIT or ETH Zurich. Okay, so that's listen to what I've said. And we can just add that as a requirement. It's then captured what I've said. So mentions having graduated from a leading university such as Oxford, Cambridge, etc., etc. So I'm happy with that, and I can click update. And now the platform's going to surface all of the candidates that have that experience that I'm looking for, and only candidates that match all of my kind of must-have requirements are going to show up in the match list. And then obviously any that meet my kind of nice to haves are going to just appear. And that is the joy of what makes this so much easier, but also so much more flexible than kind of what we had previously, where we were looking at, the kind of related skills and experience, but actually now we can be really, really specific. So now I've been really specific. I've managed to refine my match list down even more. And I know that these are the candidates that have the experience that I'm looking for. Do I need to zoom out? So you can see here, we can scroll down to this candidate's profile. We can even see it just in the profile here, but you can see holds a degree from King's College London. And I can be confident that that candidate has the kind of right experience I'm looking for, as well as the payment platforms and everything else I'm asking for as well.
I'm going to kick it, just about to kick it over to you, Chris. And I promise the viewers that this was not a contrived kickover. The fact that we both went to it at the same point, I'm going to call something out. Maybe it's the same thing, Chris. Maybe it's something different, but you're going to have to go after me. So firstly, for the folks that are watching, I've been trying to keep up with the chat on the right-hand side. We'll definitely zoom in a few more times so that you can get a little bit of a closer view, and great feedback so far as we have gone through this. I think just the one thing to call out here is these are candidates that are live right now, that are high intent, that are interviewing. And one of the things that's happening in the background is once this role is set up, we're being really targeted with the way in which we're then activating our broader passive audience to bring them into this list. So I think just a really important thing to call out there. Chris, I was going to kick it over to you to talk about how we can be a lot more precise with what we're doing now with that. And then whichever other point you had, because I'm not sure if it's the same or not. So yeah, I'll kick it over to you on that one first, like how we're adding more precision on the candidate side as well.
Yeah. So what I really like about this, what we've built here, is there's a lot of opportunities for users to kind of iterate and feedback, as Frankie was showing, right? So you can type in your requirements. We'll interpret them in a way that makes sense. But if you're not seeing quite what you expect, you can say they must have examples of doing this, and then it will specifically return back people who have examples of doing what you want to say, right? So you can get it to be more explicit. On the other side, you can say we're looking for someone with Tableau or similar technologies, right? And it doesn't have to be specifically that, and we will return that. And what's I think is really nice is that it's just very flexible. And one of the points that people were saying back to before is like, oh, I don't quite agree with why this person's in the top of the list. Well, now we're actually also providing you the tools to refine that yourself. So we're actually empowering the users a lot more to sort of really tweak it and refine the way we like it. I've said I'm particularly a fan of the voice integration, because this is basically what I was doing myself. I was recording my voice into these boxes. We kind of took that and ran and made it into a feature. I feel like it's actually something so powerful about skipping out the typing phase and just kind of giving a stream of consciousness. And a shout out to the person in the chat talking about the vibe coding, because this is where my inspiration. When you can actually just talk indirectly and get the results out, I find that is it was really transformative actually in terms of getting what you're looking for. And actually what we're seeing is that I was putting some data together for this from this morning to see what we could talk about. And actually one thing that I found was really interesting was that we had one user went from creating the job to requesting a candidate in 56 seconds, which is kind of mind-blowing, really. I think what that speaks to is, we're doing a much better job of surfacing up why someone's a good fit. So, it gets the requirements right first time a lot better, and it's also surfacing why. So when you can see it in the list, you can get sort of 90% of the way there to requesting someone. You click through to the profile, just give it a quick scan and go, yeah, that is what I'm looking for, request. There was another case as well from a well-known financial services provider who had a very niche requirement. So it was business analysts working in the context of equity derivatives and algorithmic trading, something very specific and actually not historically within our core kind of area. So we probably would have not had the skills to refine that properly. Now it can be completely dynamic. This user had requested their first candidate within 90 seconds of creating a job, and within 10 minutes they'd brought 5 people through to interview, or requested 5 people through to interview. And I think that just speaks to, one, we're much better able to identify candidates have even quite niche requirements. And also, two, we're able to surface that information in a better way so that you are able to make that decision much more efficiently.
Yeah, and I think worth like flagging here as well, like everything we're then doing is then enabling us to be a far more targeted outreach and activation channel for candidates, for them to mimic the relevancy of this experience with their expectations. And a lot of what we've been doing so far has been around, as you've heard, right? We're watching user data, we're seeing how people are responding, we're seeing how people are engaging with the platform and working to get to the result that works best for the individual that's working on the platform. We've got some absolute sourcing icons in the chat as well, globally recognized sourcing icons. So would love your feedback, maybe in a separate session, maybe you want to dive in, probe it. Happy to kind of run those sessions with anybody and get your feedback. Because nice segue, we ran one of those with Lou, and he brought a completely different way of looking at this. So rather than thinking about different ways of contextualizing and being really dynamic with the search, actually, can you see somebody's career history and how they work through their career and why they might be relevant for that role? And it's coined as the achiever pattern, and love the format, the framing, and the setup. And actually, that's what, again, bravely, we're going to do live now to kind of walk through that example, because I could see you teed it up there in the background, Frankie. So yeah, over to you again.
Yeah, I thought I would, whilst we were kind of discussing platform efficiencies, I thought I would be just as efficient myself. So yeah, I mean, obviously, Chris kind of talked to it as well. Time and platform is more efficient. Every candidate is meeting what you say you're looking for, and actually, that is why it takes so little time now just to find a candidate that's the right fit, and request them. And actually, this achiever pattern, I'm just bringing it up here, I just realized it's in a different window, but this achiever pattern is not just what we're looking for candidates on candidates at the top of the funnel, but it's kind of like throughout the whole interview process, what is it that you need from candidates? So rather than thinking about this like a job description or a transcript, like what we've looked at, and kind of more like skills and job requirements, this is more kind of the evidence that you want to see combined with those skills and requirements. So we can, just like we did with the free text filters or with the voice prompt as well, we can start to search hackajob in the same way that like a recruiter would think. So if I just copy and paste this in here.
By the way, I love this new feature on StreamYard that I can throw these comments up, because Lou is absolutely part cheerleader, part putting the pressure on with the no pressure.
I love it. But you can see here, so I'm going to just zoom in here just to show you, because I just think this is so cool. So just to recap, this is what you're looking for in candidates, throughout the process. This is now what the platform has captured as requirements. So recognition and awards, quantifiable business impact. So mentions metrics like revenue, growth, cost savings, team leadership and influence. And the platform is explaining back what it is searching for in candidates' profiles. And again, because profiles are so rich on hackajob, because they have they've come to hackajob, they've updated their preferences, they've updated their work experience, unlike incomplete profiles you might see on other platforms. We're able to kind of get this information. So if I just click update here, we're going to start to surface some of these kind of more nuanced requirements that you would look for in the interview process, actually at this stage at the top of the funnel, and start kind of, thinking like a recruiter. Not that I'm not a recruiter in this context. But yeah, it is very exciting. So yeah, you can see here, I can't actually remember how many matches there were before. I think it was 90 something. But now we've got 16 people that match everything I was looking for previously. The AI ML algorithm, it's a senior AI engineer role. We also were looking for kind of SaaS product experience, working for a breakthrough startup or a scale up. And now we're showing where candidates are meeting all those other kind of key requirements as well. So we're then demonstrating that. This is a great one. So quantifiable business impact. This candidate demonstrates quantifiable business impact, such as, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Hopefully you can all see it yourselves. But this is so specific, and this is not something you would find, through other means, or unless you were spending hours and hours scanning profiles for that kind of one thing. But then you've got to look for all the other things as well. So yeah, I think this is awesome.
What I really love about this one, just to jump in, Sam, is that we didn't really kind of design a lot of this stuff in, right? Like one thing that's amazing is like the power of the system behind this, right? So we kind of realized at some point that actually you can take this big chunk of requirements and just like kind of put it in that box there, right? And you can, it just shows how flexible it is that you're able to really express whatever you want. And so like it was a surprise to me that we're like, that actually works really well. And I'm kind of interested to see as users try this out for themselves, how do they use it? Because I think that's as much as source of inspiration as what our discussions internally.
And there's just I think it's worth just taking a moment there and thinking about this in the context of what's happening in recruitment right now. We're under immense operational pressure. And there are huge volumes to deal with, again, going back to that challenge, or we're trying to reach the people that are going to transform our organization as this next generation of talent. And there was hundreds of matches there, right? We've got an amazing network of AI candidates, and you could have gone through that entire list. But actually, what you're able to do is incredibly quickly condense it down with a set of phrases and a methodology that's far richer than just a series of matches within a boolean string. And I think that's the true power here. We already had something which was game changing, in my opinion, this time last year, but this is just another level. It's that ability to then be able to go in, reduce down that friction in the process, and add a layer of understanding from a candidate's perspective that's just not possible to achieve elsewhere. And, saying that with pretty brash confidence, but, I'd love for anybody watching this to just get in contact. You can have a demo, you can have access completely for free. We're very confident what we've got here. We want to watch you play with it and see, what are the results that you're generating. I think so important the whole way through. This is guided by the recruiter. You're then checking back on the explainability to make sure that what you're searching for and what the results are reflective of what you're actually looking for, which again, hard to achieve outside of this. I think the last part, and we are running slightly over, but I can see in my little window here that Frankie's loaded up another screen. I can see it's hovered over skills insight and she's going up and down. It's probably that consultation with hiring managers and like how that piece works. So yeah.
Yeah, I felt it really matched what you were saying, Sam. So I was like, come on, let us show it, let us show it. But this is something that we kind of, I don't think we thought users would love it as much as they do, but they are using this so much in a number of different ways. So what this is telling you, one, how many candidates there are if everything was nice to have. So that's, we know there's 186 candidates out there in New York that kind of meet all of these different things that I'm looking for. And actually then what you can do is you can start to see the breakdown of how many people of those 186 meet certain things that I'm looking for. So one, I'm able to kind of inform my search. It's not guesswork anymore. I'm not like, oh, what would happen if I moved this to nice to have, or what would happen if I got rid of this, or if I changed this? Like, I already know how many people I'm going to see, how many people are actively interviewing, looking for a role, whether that's passively or actively on the platform right now with these things that I'm looking for. And then, yeah, as Sam said, actually where we're seeing a huge benefit with users and recruiters on the platform is actually using this to guide hiring manager briefs from the start. And so rather than kind of having that back and forth with the hiring manager, having the platform open, using these insights to say, yes, this is going to be a difficult role to fill, or maybe we should look at this instead, and actually kind of using that as a real live market view of who's available right now, open to work privately on hackajob, which is amazing. And naturally, it kind of gives you a bit of leverage with hiring managers as well. Yeah, I thought I would just show that. And actually, we didn't use it in the achiever pattern example. It's really cool to see the breakdown of the different requirements as well.
And it's like just on that point, if you wanted to broaden that search out, pull the recognition and awards down, you're adding 71 candidates to the mix. Like it's a really, really dynamic setup of what that looks like. And then just to double click again, kind of to close this out, is everything that you're seeing there is then mimicked with our candidates' experience to drive them the most relevant experience. So you're no longer needing to go into a big outdated database and try and reach out to candidates that might be a fit or that might have surfaced in that result. We're doing that activation work in real time in the background to continually bring more candidates to the top of that match list every day. So your role as a recruiter now is to vibe with the system, is to have that conversation, is to get that deeper understanding internally, and then build something that reflects what you're looking for in the role, and then allow the system to do the work, and you review new candidates each time they come live. That's the magic of it all. What is happening right now is I can see loads of comments. I'm not going to come to questions because we've already overrun, but the stream, like any good stream, is running about a minute behind on LinkedIn. So we're going to finish with some like erroneous small talk. I'm going to do some hand gestures because I'm watching this on LinkedIn rather than live, and then I'll know that we're not just ending the stream midway through the conversation for people that are watching. People that are here, though, come and grab a demo. You can have it 30 days access completely for free. And yeah, I want to say a special thanks to Frankie and to Chris today for joining. I think a wonderful show on that front. So yeah, like I said, a couple of bit of gestation now. Make sure I'm doing the hand movements so that I can then see that on the other side and I don't end the show prematurely. I'm going to end it now.
Thank you very much.